very important developments in the Ghislaine Maxwell deposition and the Epstein files, and no one better than Representative Robert Garcia, the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, who issued subpoenas, who is on the team that issued the subpoenas for both Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition and the evidence. Please welcome.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
I'm so happy you're here because my biggest concern and question is no one has a bigger reason to lie than Ghislaine Maxwell. And now her team is already coming out and saying, oh, we had a very productive meeting with the Justice Department. I'm sure you did. You have something he wants. He has something you want. Everybody wins. So how do we ensure her credibility?
So this is why the actual subpoena of the Epstein files is so important. Anything that Ghislaine Maxwell actually says, we have to know that she is saying such possibly because she wants a pardon, she wants to reduce her sentence, and she's going to do whatever she can while protecting Donald Trump to get her sentence reduced. So that is a fact. We also know, by the way, that this is a bad person. She was involved in sex trafficking of children. She is a liar. So let's be really clear about who she is, right? And so that should concern, this DOJ meeting should concern us. But when we have our deposition with her, the Oversight Committee, in August, about August 11th, looking like the date, when we actually get to interview her as Oversight Democrats and Republicans, we will need to then look at what she says, at what she talks about, and then match that with evidence in the files, on the videos, and in the documents. And so we're not going to take what she says on her own. It's got to be corroborated with actual evidence that we actually find in the Epstein files, which is why that subpoena of the document is so important to actually her credibility, because we just cannot believe or take her word just because she says so. It's got to be matched with actual evidence.
I completely agree. And that's why I was so excited that you were able to get that done. Let me ask you a question about the evidence. I saw the letter that you sent to James Comer. Now he is going to issue the subpoena. Does he have a time limit on when he has to issue that subpoena?
I mean, look, it needs to be expeditiously. I think the subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell happened within a couple of days of the actual vote that we took in the Oversight Committee. And so we would expect that in the next few days, week or so, he should issue the subpoena. Now, he's already committed to issuing the subpoena. He has said it publicly. He has told news outlets he's going to issue the subpoena. And so that was step one, is getting him to actually do it, which is good. We've told him and said, hey, look, if you're going to actually issue the subpoena, let's put a time limit on it. So we think that 30 days is an appropriate amount of time for the DOJ to collect the documents unredacted and give over the full files, videos, documents, whatever the hell that they have, over to the Oversight Committee so that we have a chance to actually review all the documents. And of course, it's our intention. We want to be able to make all this information public, of course. And so there's going to be a process to get that done. But that's what's really important to us. It's really the Democrats on the committee. And so very good steps toward transparency in the last few days. And honestly, because we fought so hard to get it done.
Absolutely. What happens if they don't comply, if the Justice Department does not bring forward all of the files?
Well, look, that's an unacceptable answer for us, because subpoenas to the DOJ, which has career lawyers and people that do this every day, would be an incredibly dangerous moment for the country and the Constitution. And so I don't put anything past Donald Trump, by the way. But of course, we'd have to elevate that in a way through the courts that it'd be quite dangerous, quite frankly, and precedent setting for the administration. But we think there are enough career people over there, and Pam Bondi, at the end of the day, as a lawyer, they have to respond to the subpoena. And so that is our expectation, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure they do so. And if they don't, once again, what is Donald Trump hiding? What is he so scared of that's in a video or in a document that he won't release it to the American public? We know he's in there. Let's find out why.
Right. I can't help but think it's got to be something video, because he could lie his way out of words. But that's just my personal opinion. Now, I've seen Brad Edwards, who is an attorney for 200 of the Epstein victims, and he is corroborating the Wall Street Journal report on the 50th birthday. And then Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, has said, he would give everything in due course. If he was asked, he would respond. Can you take what DOJ gives you and then ensure by talking with those participants that you have all the evidence? Because here's the deal. I don't trust Pam Bondi as far as I can pick her up and throw her. Certainly don't trust Todd Blanche. So is there a way to move from outside sources to verify that the DOJ gives you everything?
Yes. And in fact, for example, I was just communicating our team with Ro Khanna and his team today, who's working exactly on actually a piece of this. He's also trying to get information and has received some information about documents and notes and letters from other attorneys, other folks that have Epstein documents. And so we know that there are some documents that are in private hands, and then, of course, an enormous amount that is at the DOJ. And some of that may overlap, of course, but we're going to go to every avenue, and we're going to work with some other lawyers and, of course, those that have been victimized and trafficked, and which is horrific, of course, what's happened to these young kids and women. And so all of that is on the table for us. And the public can rest assured that we're not going to rest until we get those damn files. I'm tired of Republicans being the only ones that are pushing. I'll do whatever I can to do what they want. This oversight committee is made up of fighters who are going to get to the truth.
I love hearing that, because that's what we need in this moment. And you mentioned the victims. That's who I am so sad for. It's like they're re-traumatized all over again, with Donald Trump calling it a hoax. Ghislaine Maxwell now is the belle of the ball for the Trump DOJ. Have you heard from victims about how they're feeling regarding this process right now?
So I haven't directly spoken to victims, and I obviously am very sensitive to privacy and some of what's happening there. But there are conversations, of course, with representatives and lawyers from different parties that are happening right now. Our committee is made up of some incredible, not just members, but also some incredible lawyers and researchers and people that care about the truth and accountability that are all working on this right now. And so we're going to get to the bottom of what Donald Trump knows and what this cover-up is. And these Republicans that didn't vote with us, by the way, they split. We got 3 of them to come over and vote for us on this committee. Others voted no. And we know there's a lot of them in the Congress that don't want to release these files because they want to bend the knee to Donald Trump. They are now complicit in whatever this cover-up is, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
When do you expect, after you receive the evidence, you depose Ghislaine Maxwell, what do you foresee the timeline is for the public to view this information? I know it has to be redacted because of victims. Do you have to take another vote by the House to release the information, or once you have it and it's redacted, you can do that?
So we haven't actually set up the procedure for that piece of it
Okay.
yet. But just know that it's our intention to get the actual documents. Once we protect the victims and we're able to actually protect their identity, we want to get that out to the American public. And so it needs to be open, and people need to be able to see for themselves. They're not going to believe anything unless they're able to see it. And there is a ton of video, from what I understand, in these documents and in these Epstein files. So let's see the video. Let's protect the victims. But I've told people this: I don't care if you are a billionaire, a politician, a powerful person, if you are involved in some way in this sex trafficking ring, if you are involved in hurting young kids or young women, I don't care who you are, what your political party is, you should be held accountable. And that's, I think, what we're committed to in this process.
Listener, I want to take a minute and talk about how important it is to have agency over your news and to know the facts that you are getting in an article are true. We have too much disinformation. That is why ground news is so important. In addition to being the Spotify of news, they also have a feature called Blind Spot, and it shows what the left is talking about and what the right is talking about. And it shows the difference in how stories are approached. For example, on a right-leaning news source, it says billion-dollar lawsuit threatens Trump and Murdoch's stormy friendship. Then Vanity Fair, Donald Trump sues Wall Street Journal reporters Rupert Murdoch for $10 billion over fake, in air quotes, Epstein letter. They let you know who owns the publication, the factuality, right-leaning, left-leaning, who's talking about it, who's not. So join us by going to groundnews.com/IHIP to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that we use every day. They're subscriber funded and female founded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work. That's Ground, GROUND news.com/IHIP. And we've pinned the link in the show notes for easy access. Now back to the news. Can you then, after DOJ has already said we're shutting down the investigation, can your committee recommend to the DOJ charges or no?
Well, look, obviously, as you know, I also can't trust and don't trust Pam Bondi. But I think that we have a lot of options in front of us once we get a hold of these files, including if there is information in there that can lead to the conviction or holding other folks accountable for what they've done. I think we have a responsibility to look at that and to get other folks involved in that process. And so we have to center the crimes and most importantly, those that have been victimized by these crimes as part of why we are so committed to releasing these files.
One more question that I know you have to run. If the DOJ, when they give you all these files and you make these recommendations, can they take you to court to stop disseminating them publicly?
Look, I think the DOJ, they can try to do whatever they want. They're going to try all sorts of things because they don't really follow the law, and they've got some of these courts they have on their side. But the subpoena process is pretty clear. I mean, in statute and law, it's very clear. The Congress, we have the constitutional right to be a check and balance on the executive, and we can put out subpoenas for information, for documents, for people. If we issue a subpoena, and by the way, this is the important thing, it was bipartisan. We have a bipartisan subpoena, Republicans and Democrats. The DOJ has to respond, and there's nothing they can do to stop that release. And so that's what I think the American public needs to know. And I think these next few weeks are going to be very interesting. We may be able to get our hands on these documents before even Congress comes back from this recess, which would be really, really important. And we're going to try to do. And of course, we want to get these documents so that we have the information in front of us. So when Ms. Maxwell does her deposition, and I'll be there, by the way, I'm going to be at that damn deposition, and we're not going to allow the Republicans alone to just be in that room asking questions. We're going to ask questions as well. We're going to get that information and ensure that the truth comes out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations. What a service you are doing. You've taken over the Oversight Committee, and it's been a game change. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.